Thank you, Mr Speaker.
I call Grant Robertson.
Mr Speaker, I just want to make sure the people of New Zealand know John Hayes wants to cancel your passport. That's what he just said. He said if you're someone who's borrowed from the student loan scheme, you might be having some trouble paying it back, John Hayes is going to cancel your passport. And while he's at it, he's going to pay his builder $20 a year, he said actually. $20 a year is what he said. What Mr Hayes doesn't understand is that the whole point of supporting tertiary education is so the children of John Hayes' builder can go on and get a degree, become an astrophysicist, earn a lot more than $20 a year from John Hayes. That's why we support people in tertiary education, Mr Hayes, is to give them opportunity. We want to see all New Zealanders get that chance. But Mr Speaker, what we've got today is the first ever Minister of Tertiary Education who has made it his business to take away opportunity from New Zealanders. Because the very first thing Stephen Joyce said when he became Tertiary Education Minister was that his goal was to dampen demand for tertiary education. He said he wanted to dampen demand. That means, in real people's language, take away opportunity from young New Zealanders. And step by step, little by little, Mr Joyce is taking away opportunity from young New Zealanders. And that's because, Mr Speaker, he doesn't want to face up to the fact he hates the interest-free student loan scheme. He does not want the interest-free student loan scheme to exist. And in that, Mr Speaker, he's consistent with his leader, John Key, who stood up in this House when Labor brought in the interest-free student loan scheme, and he said, "I will oppose this bill with every bone in my body." Well, the Prime Minister, or as he shall now be known, the jellyfish, has failed to oppose it at all. He decided he'd better grab it because it was popular. But his party and Stephen Joyce, his minister, have never supported an interest-free student loan scheme. And so what have they done in the time that they've been in office? They have systematically undermined New Zealand students' access to education, taking away postgraduate student allowances, preventing people aged 50, this is for you, Mr Mallard, preventing people aged 55 years and over from borrowing under the student loan scheme. I have had in my office someone laid off from the public service, knowing, a single woman knowing that she would be in the workforce for at least another 10 or 12 years, wanting to go back and retrain, but Mr Joyce, Mr Key and the National Party say that person's not worthy of that opportunity. They're not going to be supported to take that on, and that is wrong, Mr Speaker. And then in this budget they said, we're going to lower that down. We're not satisfied with just taking to people of Mr Mallard's age group. We are going to say, this is the national government, they're going to say, people over the age of 40, you're limited to 3 years of allowances. That's it. You're not allowed to go on and retrain and do postgraduate study. Far be it from us to have more people in postgraduate study. This government's small-minded taking away of opportunity from New Zealanders is shameful, Mr Speaker. And then we come to the student loan scheme. Where just to make sure that they could reach another few people, they increased the repayment rate from 10 cents on the dollar to 12 cents on the dollar. That might not seem like much to Mr Joyce, but if you're a young couple starting out, both with loans, trying to get yourself into your first home, that extra payment limits your opportunities. With kids, that limits your opportunities. And that is the problem for Mr Joyce. He is taking away from young families the opportunity to get ahead in life. And so he comes to this House, or Todd McClay on his behalf comes to this House with a bill that is just purely and simply a gimmick, Mr Speaker. That is all it is. The police have said, how on earth are we going to look after this? Chris Farfoy, the police spokesperson for the Labor Party, has brought up in this House time and time again the fact that under Anne Tolley's watch, the number of police on the beat's going down. Well, here's Stephen Joyce and Todd McClay saying, let's get them at the airport chasing around people who haven't paid their student loan scheme. Is that the best use of police resources, Mr Joyce? No, it's not. It is not the best use of police resources, and the police themselves have told the government this is not the best use of their resources. Nobody's costed out, Mr Speaker, what it will mean in terms of cost to the courts, because this is just a gimmick, Mr Speaker. It's quite simply a gimmick from a government who does not want young New Zealanders to get the opportunities that they should have. They simply want to make sure that tertiary education stays as the preserve of the privileged over there. John Hayes could stand up in this House tonight and say, did he get a free education? Was the taxpayer paying for John Hayes to go to Lincoln University? Was the taxpayer paying for that? He's very quiet, Mr. Speaker. He's very quiet because he knows that he is taking from a future generation what he had. He is not offering the opportunity to this generation that he had, and that is wrong, Mr. Speaker. We need to invest in tertiary education. We need to make sure that all New Zealanders who are able and capable can take on a tertiary qualification. And it might be at a university, or it might be in a trade, or it might be in a polytech, or it might be in a wānanga. But this National Party has said that only those who can really afford it are the ones who should go there. Well, on the Labour Party side of the House, we say tertiary education is an investment. The student loan scheme is interest-free because of Labour, and that we will not support a bill that is quite simply just a gimmick. What we want to see is legislation that means that all young people are supported into tertiary education, that those who need to retrain are given that opportunity, and that we invest in postgraduate study to get the scientists, to get the researchers who are going to lift our economy. This government has no vision for tertiary education. This bill is a weak gimmick, and on this side of the House we will strongly oppose it.
I call Maggie Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, hard on the heels of weak gimmick, which would be about the epitaph of contender number 2, is he, or number 3? Where is the smart money these days?